Tonight I'm going to go through three things, if I can. Right? And these three things, they're game changers in the worst possible way. They're ways that stop a sale from happening. Mistakes that we make, that I have made. In those 6,000 hours that Will talked about, I had to sell every hour. As in, I had to sell before I got on the stage to do that hour. So I've had a few thousand sales calls. And not all of them successful. Quite a lot of them successful, and I will maybe, if there's a little bit of time, I will slide in a little bit of what worked. But over the years, having been in, I wasn't in sales, and yet as a business owner, selling workshops, you have to sell, right? Anyone in that position where you're not a salesperson, but because you've chosen to be an entrepreneur, you have to sell. Anyone in that position?
You have to sell.
You have to sell?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll share with you the three things that often go wrong, three mistakes. So hopefully, with a little bit of awareness, you'll be able to take that knowledge back and maybe catch yourself. Or in your rehearsal, when you practice your pitch, you catch yourself making these mistakes. I've tried to make them, there's thousands of mistakes that salespeople make, okay? Thousands, really. I've made at least half of those thousands. Many, but today we do three. And so I've tried to make them the biggest ones, also to look at broad areas where people tend to make mistakes, okay? Areas, So that's what we're going to do tonight. So I'm going to ask you first of all, who is in sales? Who is in sales? That you understand that a big function of what you do is in sales. That's almost everybody. My next question is, who is not in sales?
Who is not in sales?
Okay, not in sales. I'm going to tell you one thing. Before we start this sales thing, everyone is in sales.
Mm-hmm.
Guess when you start being a salesperson?
A baby when you cry.
Absolutely. Actually, when a baby cries, it's not sales, It's closing. You don't do a sales pitch, you close right away. You learn how to do this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Well, not to cry, right? But closing is a big one. Closing is a great one. So you start young, and we slowly learn how not to sell. Because in school, anyone thought you'd be a salesman? Most people don't dream of being a salesman when they're in school. Because we're taught how not to sell. So we're taught many, many things, one of which is how not to sell. And one of the things we'll see later is one of the things they taught us to do in school stops us from selling. It defeats us when we try to sell. So once you're aware of that, you can try and counter that original programming. Okay, so that's what we're going to try to do tonight. Information that makes sense, that can counter, hopefully, the old habits, the programmed habits, or habits based on fear. Okay, you realize that most habits are based on fear. We talk about, let's be positive and all that, but actually our habits are based on fear. We do or don't do something based on fear. Afraid of this, afraid of that. Never mind, we won't reveal everyone's fear tonight, but we'll talk about some of the reasons why these things don't work. I'm talking about psychological reasons. Some of you will understand that. Not everyone maybe, that's okay. You understand whatever you understand and whatever level you want to apply it, it's fine. Whether you understand the psychology. In fact, some people, they understand the psychology and still cannot sell. Still cannot sell. Some people have no clue, sell a lot. You find that, right?
Yes.
It might be an IQ thing, but sometimes I see that there's a wide range, Some bored fellas can sell, And the smart fellas cannot sell. It's like that, It doesn't mean if you're smart, you can't sell. I think if you're smart, Bill Gates is smart. He sold a lot. Actually, what Bill Gates did was not selling. I'm sure he has sales skills. Bill Gates did the other thing that we often link with sales. What is that? Or Steve Jobs, for that matter. Steve Jobs was a fantastic salesman, but he was even better. What do we have? The sales department is usually called sales and what?
Marketing.
Sales and marketing. You know the difference between the two? Are they the same? They're not the same, right? Are they treated as the same thing usually?
Yes.
Yes. So we're doing something wrong in our organizations. We're misunderstanding the idea of sales or marketing, because why we lump them together and think that they are one function. You can separate these two into two different countries or two different continents, the sales department and the marketing department, and they will probably function better than if they sat together in the same room, because they're completely different. Completely different. You know the difference? Anyone want to know the difference? You want to know the difference? Okay, I tell you the difference. My marketing teacher taught me this. Sorry, my public relations teacher taught me this, because that's the degree I took in when I was young. Public relations. Even before, in those days, PR is early in the karaoke room. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Well, I took public relations on, but of course.
That's the reason you opened the film.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to learn. You don't have to listen to it tonight. Just do the button method, right? But sales and marketing are two different things, and this is how my professor saw the difference, and I completely agree with him. He said, marketing is to make selling unnecessary. Means you don't have to sell if you market. Anybody ever have someone come up to you and try to sell you an iPhone? Any Apple employee try to sell you an iPhone? No. But we queue up, right? May not be you and me, but there are people who just queue up overnight with tents the lot. Why? Apple know how to sell, or they know how to market? They don't teach their people how to sell. No. Teach their people how to sell for what? They teach their people how to market. So marketing is making selling what? Unnecessary. Another way of looking at it. 100 meter race. Okay? Okay, Will does not have to run. The rest of us will run, okay?
Will drive.
Will will drive and meet us at the finish line. So you do your marketing, right? You do your marketing, you're running the race. 99 meters of marketing,
Yeah.
One more meter to go. Guess what that meter is?
Sales.
Yeah. Closing. It's closing actually. Forget about selling. You market and then you close. You're gonna sell for what? Sell means you explain this, explain that, right? You're gonna sell for what? Market and close now. Sure enough. Market and then close. 99 meters of marketing. You can be fantastic in 99 meters. If you don't do the last meter, you can win or not?
No.
Can't win. Nobody will remember who you are. Your product will not feature. That 1 meter is very important. Of course, that 1 meter also cannot be the 1 meter if not for the 99, right? So it's all a process. I'm just trying to get everyone clear on what we're dealing with. So in this 1 meter, we have people who do it well, and we have people who screw it up. Okay? That's, you and me we could sometimes do it well, sometimes we can screw it up. Tonight we're going to discover how we screw it up, so that the part that we do well can expand a bit long. Okay? We discover how we screw it up. Okay. Question for you all. I want you to turn to someone and ask them this question. Okay? I'll give you 30 seconds to discuss it with them. The question is, why do people buy? Okay? Turn to your friend. Why do people buy? Okay, I'll stop you there. Turn to your friend, give them a high 10 and say, you are very talented. Okay, why do people buy? Give me one reason.
Someone sells, I mean.
Someone sells and therefore people buy? I'm not sure if that is logical.
I mean, you can't buy, no one sells.
To show their...
What you're saying is, I am a man, therefore all women will want to marry me.
No. There must be a man,
Quite right.
no sex and
True.
There's a need.
There's a need.
Solve problem.
Solve a problem.
Read.
Read. Sorry, need.
Read.
Read. Read art. Is it?
Read.
Oh, greed.
Yeah.
People buy for greed.
Too rich and no way to spend. Find something to buy.
Okay, we can talk later. Yes. Wait, have you decided which of the many options?
To let people know our
Status.
yeah, something like that. Like
For example,
You mean-
a lady who are very
Birkins,
rich
right?
must have an LV bag, something like that.
Okay. See, I'm learning something about ladies now. I didn't know.
or watch for.
Oh, guys, by the way, if the lady needs an LV bag, run away, please.
So don't sit near her.
High maintenance. So we've got some interesting answers, huh? All the way from the person who has too much money, all right, to the one that wants to show status, to those who are greedy, as well as someone who needs something or a problem to solve. Okay, pick one. Which one do you want? Of all of these answers, which one do you
Is this how the
think? Which one do you think we should base our discussion on? Huh?
Is this how this society works? No man is an island. You can't function by yourself. Therefore, you need something for other
I
people.
can.
And then that's how things happen.
I can function completely well by myself. Sorry, what are we talking about?
You know, all that.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no man is an island. Of course, we're all interconnected. But what's that got to do with the question? Is why do people buy? Is this why people buy? Because we have to exchange things.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we have to exchange things. But that might be part of the reason. But I'm looking for the driver. I'm looking for the driver of the van, not the passengers. You know, I'm not looking for the people who are along for the ride. The reasons they're along for the ride. I'm looking for the one who steps on the gas. And what's the one thing? And I heard it tonight. No, I've already heard it in this room. The one thing, the one reason people buy, the only reason people buy. Because ants don't buy. And yet there are many ants interconnected. So we can discount this reasoning here. Okay? And sometimes people with so much money also don't want to buy, right? That's why they have so much money. Think about it. So we can discount this reason here. Of course there must be a need.
Yeah.
There must be a need. And sometimes it's status, but not always, right? Not always. You go to the hospital. You go to the hospital that has the highest status or the one that has the correct doctor for your...
Correct.
So status can come into it? Not always. The only reason anybody buys anything is to solve a problem. Solve a problem. Not solve your problem, but solve his problem. Okay, I know as salespeople we think, oh, please solve my problem. But why do I say we say that? We think that because we always say, thank you for your support. That means, thank you for helping me solve my problem. You see how that mindset is probably the complete opposite to what you should be having. He should be saying to you, thank you for your support. He give you the money, then he tell to you. How many of you would like the customer, the client, to give you the money and bam, the check, so heavy one, bam, thank you for your support. The client tell you, you know,
Happens.
it should be happening more often. But the reason it doesn't happen more often is because
You're not selling yourself enough.
maybe what you sold him wasn't really that great. You know what I mean? If it was really that great, if the doctor cured your mother, you will pay the $150,000 bill and thank the doctor, you know. True or not? True.
I prefer not paying.
You get my point, right? If the value delivered by the company that is selling whatever, in this case the hospital and the doctor, if they deliver if they solve the problem, and that problem was of that much value to you, you thank them. Big time. Really. But in the things that we sell every day, nobody thank us one more. True or not? It's rare, you know. It can happen, of course. It's rare. Would you like that to happen more often?
Yeah.
Okay, deliver more. But true, no, that's basically what it is, right? You deliver greater value. That's basically what you have to do. I mean, there's no complications beyond that. You deliver greater value. So, I want that to be planted as a seed. How that seed grows in your mind is up to you. I just want to plant that seed. That your job in business and your job as an entrepreneur, moving into the future, your job is to create not just products and services, no, but ultimately to create value so that customers have problems that get solved. And for the money they exchange for it, they are thankful to you and all. Okay? Thankful to you. So you know why people buy, right? Okay, I'm going to ask you another question. What's the biggest problem you have in your mind or in your business, or what do you think the biggest problem is? I'm going to give you a choice of 3, like multiple choice, just to make it easy for you. Okay? Is it prospecting? Okay, that's the first one. Is it the presentation? Okay, presenting, prospecting, presenting, closing. Which of these 3 are? Each of you will have your own choice now. You think about it for just a second. Prospecting, you understand what I mean, right? Looking for customers. Presenting, that's making the sale, doing the sales presentation and all that kind of stuff. And closing, okay, actually signing the contract. How many, you all decided which one you're going to pick as the biggest problem? All our problems, okay, all our problem areas, which is the biggest one for you? You decide, huh? Okay, hands up if it's prospecting for you. For you, finding new customers. Okay, alright, okay.
Finding new customers.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, no, prospecting is...
Because no marketing, that's why you got the problem.
maybe we can talk about solution at another meeting, right? Yeah. Okay, very nice. How about the presentation itself? Making the presentation. Okay, very nice. 1. How about the closing?
Closing.
See, I've just done my market research. Closing.
Yeah.
Closing.
Making the pen to sign.
Closing is the one that I didn't want to talk about tonight. Because I have a workshop which people have to pay to go in 2 weeks' time. Closing.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
So you're doing closing now?
So now I'm closing.
Fishing.
I'll tell you what. Since all 3 are represented in the room today, we'll talk about all 3, okay? And I'll talk about closing insofar as all the stuff I can talk about, I'll talk about.
Okay.
I'll talk about the psychology of why closing is what ruins closing, okay? So the actual exercises and all that one is workshop. Okay. So let's start with prospecting. Prospecting. What do you think the biggest problem is when people prospect? Okay, how do you prospect? You go and get a list or something, or you start with family, or how do you prospect? Okay, however you prospect, however you develop your little database of people to call, because if you don't call or somehow contact these people, how are you going to sell, right? So however you do that, here is the single biggest mistake. Would you like to know the single biggest mistake that people make in the prospecting phase? This is before the sale, before the selling begins. The biggest mistake, they already made a mistake now. And this mistake will almost guarantee there's no sale. Would you like to know what that is?
Yes.
You know, when I tell you, you'll kick yourself, because you will have done it. And you will recognize it.
Okay.
You will recognize it. The biggest mistake is that you sell to prospects who either won't buy or cannot buy. They either won't buy or they cannot buy. Are there a lot of people out there that won't buy and cannot buy?
Plenty of
Plenty. So you wonder why you do your best and you think and then no sale. It's not you, Okay, some of it is you, But you know what I'm saying? Some people will not buy. You cannot sell to them. They won't. Will not buy. if someone's mind cannot be changed, as you know, like some of you on Facebook, you know, like if you have discussions with people, their mind cannot be changed. Their mind cannot be changed. No matter how rational and logical you are, no matter how coherent your argument, you can't change someone who does not want their mind changed. Do you get that?
Yeah.
You can't sell someone who doesn't want to buy, doesn't want to be sold. You can sell to people who are open, or who have the need, or if they recognize with your helper, they know they have a need now, but with your helper, you'll define the problem for them. As salespeople, do you know how valuable it is when you are able to define the problem for your client, and your client goes, "You're right." That's a sale right there. That's a sale right there. The moment they say, "You're right," you're absolutely right. Do you want to know how to get to that? You're right. It's psychology, so I'll take you through that as well. So, with prospecting, we fail to do one big thing. We fail to understand who we're talking to. That's why we don't know whether they can buy or not. We just try to sell. But we don't know whether they can buy or not. A bit stupid, right? That's a bit stupid now. You go and date a girl, you don't know whether she's married or single. Oh no. Date the married one is easier. But you know what I mean? You don't understand your market. You don't understand your customer. You don't understand your prospect. You don't filter out the ones who cannot buy, will not buy, do not have the means to buy. You don't filter them out. I'm telling you now, don't waste time with them. It's not that they're not important as people, but in terms of your business, focus elsewhere. Look for people who can buy, who are open to buy, who might have a problem that needs solving and you can solve. Okay? So if you're wondering, hey, how do I find it? Well, you've got to somehow structure a little bit of research or questions so that you can discover where they're at and whether they're the kind of person that it's possible to buy, and not just that they'll buy today or whatever. Okay? That's your job now, before you even make a presentation. So, does this apply to public speaking? Absolutely. Before you make a presentation, you find out who you're speaking to. It was useful for me to know something about you. And what do you think was useful for me to know? What each of you like to eat for lunch? No. What was useful to know was, what are the problems facing this group? As a group, generally speaking, what are the issues that worry them? Okay? So, knowing that you're entrepreneurs, I make a guess as to some of the issues, so you have to intelligently guess. So, those of you who've lived longer on the planet, you maybe have a bit more resource on which to make those guesses. But, those young ones like Diana here, will be clueless. It's okay. You'll learn. Okay? Just observe. You observe. Maybe you walk into an audience and, it's a Toastmasters crowd. And then you have a presentation that is on health. And you're thinking, many of them are young. Maybe they're not worried about health. So my product doesn't solve anything. Okay, you're not trying to sell, but you want your presentation to be meaningful and a success. So you're not trying to sell anything. But actually, every presentation, it's not a sales pitch, but every presentation is a persuasion pitch. Otherwise you give a speech for what? Every time you come up here, you give a speech about table topics, projects, whatever. It's CC9. Sorry, the old thing. CC9, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's persuasion. Every single time. You go home tonight, you negotiate your wife, it's all persuasion. It's persuasion. So every time you open your mouth, it's persuasion. If you're not persuasive, you're wasting your time. And not only that, you're wasting your friend's time. You go out with your friends, and one has the ability to persuade, possibly even lead. It's more fun. Way more fun. If all up, what do you all want to do? What do you all want to do? You don't know. You stand for half an hour. What do we want to do? Where do we want to go? But if one is supposed to say, hey, come. Now Friday night, let's get some drinks. I know a place. much easier. Okay. Failing to understand the audience is the biggest mistake in prospecting, failing to understand the audience. I give you 2 questions to ask yourself so that you can understand your audience even before you meet them. And of course, once you meet them, please continue to read, continue to get a sense of the answers to these 2 questions. Okay? There's one question. It just has two parts. Okay? The question is, what is this person, right? What is my prospect, my client, my customer, my audience? What do they need from me today? What do they need to hear from me? What do they need me to present as a solution? What do they need, What are their needs? What are their needs, right? Okay, another way to look at it is, what do they want? What do they desire? They desire status. You better be selling Gucci and above. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just because they want status doesn't mean any product also you can pitch it so that it fits, No. So, you are presenting tools. You're presenting tools to solve their problem. Okay? One question with 2 parts. The first one was, what do they need, what do they want? What do they desire? That's what you have to ask yourself. Second thing, ask yourself, and this is probably the most important one, what do they fear? What are they afraid of? Because if you find their fear, you find their problem. Problem always scary, man. True or not? Nobody celebrates a problem except the really, really high IQ guys, because they know, wow, now we know. Now when we fix it, we will learn something new. Engineers or whatever. Now we fix this problem, we will have learned this new process. Okay, but for the rest of us, you have to imagine, what's that person afraid of? Okay, I'll tell you a little story of how this works. I was once asked to give a talk in college, KDU. And it was supposed to be on storytelling, and I was told that it would be a full lecture theater full of students from first year to final year. So I thought about it for a while. Hey, first year to final year storytelling. Who in the world studies storytelling as a module in college? And not only that, first year to final year, all relevant? Is that relevant? And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. I don't know this audience. They're not there for storytelling. So I thought my product, my information is just going to go straight out the window. And if I approached it in the way I normally approach a storytelling session, it would go straight out the window. These kids weren't interested in storytelling. Do you think that was a fair assumption of mine? Yeah. So I double checked with the school. Now, do these kids take storytelling as what? No, they don't. So really, no. I have an audience that are not interested in what I'm selling. As in, I wasn't selling anything but, the idea of storytelling. I had an audience that wasn't interested in storytelling. So I had to ask myself, what do they want? What do they fear? And it was the morning of the presentation. I got in my car, and I lived 2 minutes away from there. So I started driving. As I was driving, I asked myself the question again and again, and then I got the answer. So when I parked my car, I had the answer. So my whole presentation, throw out the window. Irrelevant. All my slides, gone. But I knew how to get in with this whole crowd. So I went in there, and I asked them a question. And after I asked them this question, I was in. I was relevant, and they wanted more. So you might ask yourself, what question could I have asked to get that? It's a good question. Basically, I figured out what these kids are afraid of and what they want, and it's the same thing, Year 1 to final year, or first to final year, all worried about one thing. What are they worried about? What do you think?
Employment.
Sorry?
Employment.
Exactly. They're worried about employment, but specifically, I had to articulate it in a way that caught their attention. How many of you are wondering what you will earn when you leave college? How much salary you can pocket when you leave college? How many of you want to know the answer to that? So the whole lecture hall put up their hand. I knew I was in. I had hit the jackpot in terms of the right way in. And this is why I say understand your audience. You don't have to understand everything. Huh? Just find the one thing that you think that most of them are worried about. So once I established that, I started to tell them a story. I told them the story of what I earned when I first left college, 800 a year. And I told them the story of how I decided, you know, after a few months of struggling with not enough, how I decided that I am going to move, I'm going to change my job. But not just change it, not just change for 50 ringgit, that I was going to double my salary when I changed. And I promised myself, I will keep changing and doubling and changing and doubling until I'm wherever I want to be. Mindset. How are we doing for time? We're done, is it? Good, I don't have to do closing. Okay, I tell you the biggest problem. You guys want to know what the biggest problem with presenting is? The biggest mistake people make when they make presentations?
What is it?
Talk too much. Talk too much. What do we do when we're in the presentation? We try and deliver the features and benefits, right? Features and benefits.
Yeah.
And then we've learned, don't do features, do benefits. Correct, right?
No.
Well, that's basically what we've been taught, right? Do benefits. So we talk about benefits. And you know what we fail to do when we talk too much? We fail to do the opposite. What is that?
Ask.
Yes, exactly. Correct. You fail to ask and listen to the reply. No? If you want to know what someone's problem is, you talk, is it? Or you ask? You ask and you gauge whether or not the reply is accurate. Not everything people will tell you is true, no. You guys, you go dating, the girl will advertise herself, not all true one. And not all in words either. You know? Okay, so you ask the questions and then you get a sense of what the problem is. Don't just take it literally, but you must get a sense. So you must use your wisdom, you know, your brain a bit, no? You ask. In fact, you can ask directly. Once you establish some rapport, you can ask directly. So what is the biggest problem you face in your business? And you know what? It's an open-ended question, right? Biggest problem they could answer anything. But I suggest you do a multiple choice, so you don't waste anybody's time. And people are not going because they're not ready to answer that question, right? Most business owners you entrepreneurs you're not really ready to answer that question, right? What's the biggest problem you face? You're thinking you're not quite ready to answer that question. When you're into the business for a few years, then you can see like which departments are costing you money lah. You know, is turnover a crazy thing? You know what I mean? You can, you train them at a cost of 1,000 per head, and then you lose them in a month. That's a problem, right? So this could be the biggest problem. So human resource, whatever. Most people do not know off the top of their head what the problem is. So you help them out. Give them a quick multiple choice. So you know their industry, you go and research what are the biggest problems in this industry, give them a choice of 3 or 5 things up. Did I do that just now? I did, right? Yeah, I just gave you a choice. Pam, pam, pam. Then you pick one. And from there, you can close really. That's it. Really. Closing is at my workshop. No, from there you can close. Really, I'm serious. From there you can close. Once you know the problem, you can close. Why? You must know what to ask next time. You know? How much is it worth to solve this problem now? How much is it worth to solve this problem? How much does it cost you to keep this problem going? You ask, you get a sense, and you get people down to numbers. When they get down to numbers, now you can talk now. Then you can compare what you're offering. You know, if you're really certain that what you're offering can solve the problem, well, you go in cow now. Really, go in hard. Yeah. What if I could solve this problem for you for a fifth of the cost of what the problem is now? You know, other things I could throw in for you. Your problem is closing. Okay lah. Closing costs this much. Presenting and prospecting, I teach you for free lah. I send you the contract now. What's wrong with that? If people don't want to buy, they won't buy.
Yes.
If they say, I think about it, means no. Please, guys, if girls say, I think about it, it's no. Or if they say, don't think about it, so it's no. Don't even think about it, yeah, that's no. You must be smart now as a salesperson. You must understand the language of what people are saying. Psychology, you understand the real meaning to what they're saying. Because some people cannot say no directly. Is that right, ladies? It's hard, to say no directly because you don't want to disappoint them. Whatever lah. Okay. I don't have that problem, but I'm not most people. Some people have that problem. So just understand that there are a whole range of people. Some people cannot say no. They let you talk some more. And you think it's going great. You're talking some more. Then no. And then you blame yourself. Yeah, I also blame you. After this session, I will also blame you. You should know right up front, very quickly. Here's the deal. We're good for a contract. And then you start taking details. Okay, this is how I sold when I was in 20 years in Singapore. This is how I sold per head. $25 per student for the workshop, okay? For the literature, Shakespeare, poetry, $25 per student. How to make money? Because I don't run tuition center now. So, I asked the school, I will not sell to the students. The parents call me up, I will not sell. Waste time. Sell, $25. Done. What's you die now? Singapore, you walk out of the house, the meter start running already in Singapore. The meter tick, 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 tick. By the time you walk back in the house, the pocket is empty. So you got to sell. So I sell only to the schools. And I tell the school that basically I don't do a sales pitch. I walk in there and I close. Just close. Almost every single time, just close. Why? Because these people want to buy. Otherwise they call me into the school for what? Okay? So I don't bother. Well, actually, most of the stuff I did on the phone and from overseas on the phone. But it's the same deal as you go into the school. I go into the school and I ask them, I straight away ignore the fact that they don't know who I am. Okay? Possibly they don't know who I am. So they don't know my competency and what I'm doing, So as a salesperson, usually you go in there and you try to sell, how qualified you are. Don't do it. Assume competency. Let them assume you're good. Hey, you better be good. I'm telling people who want to be good. Let them assume you're good. Don't justify how you are good. Because you know what? If you explain how you're good, if you explain how your product is good, you explain to convince someone, you die. Die. How many of you have ever tried to explain something to someone to convince them of something? Cannot. Happens all the time, right? Because there are two types of explain now. Explain, one you will die, the other one is okay. The other one, explain to educate for understanding. That's what teachers do. Explain to a concept so people can understand. That's teaching. The other one is selling. Selling or die. Explain to convince. That's selling. That one die. Explain to convince. When you need to convince someone, you'll die. Okay? It's different. Now, if you explain for understanding education in the sales process, you're a consultant. So different. You're a consultant. You're consulting with them. You're explaining something for the need because they might want to understand it. That's all. Not because you want to push it. Okay. Yeah. I assume the close. In Singapore, that's how I sold. And I sold. You remember the 10 million we talked about earlier? Yeah, I sold that. Okay? Not one time now. small deals, many times. But I sold that. I go in and I assume the close. I assume the close, Yes, I'm prepared to talk with people, but I assume the close. So I'm ready to ask them, how many students do you have in that level? Not how many do you want to send to me? How many do you have in that level? I'm assuming that they want all the students at that level to get the benefit. Just assume it. How many do you have at that level? You got 5 people in your family. Okay, we're talking coverage for 5, right? Whole family. I don't know, some of you sell insurance, is that right? Maybe. Not the hardest thing, but not the easiest thing either. But not difficult if you know how. Oh, by the way, don't believe the sales training in insurance, they're all screwed up. They will ask you to get a yes. Oh, rubbish. Rubbish. Get a no, much better. Get a no is much better. Well, that's a whole different workshop. But get a
So you're gonna do a package. Closing and a no.
get a no is much better. So like, for example, so you discover that the client is afraid of risk, don't want to lose the investment, okay? Just assume everyone don't want to lose investment, but let's say this person really scared of losing investment. Why? Okay, we don't probe why, but let's just assume that in the bank account, no room to drop any further, okay? Just assume it, don't make them too uncomfortable, okay? You can assume that. So they're afraid to lose investment. So what you can do is, right, risk is not a good thing in your situation. We can exclude this. We say no, we don't do these packages. So how? All of this is no already. He might actually say, if he wants to buy it, he might say, so what's suitable for me? Wow. Jackpot, huh? Someone asks you to sell. What's suitable for me? So what can I buy today from you? Wow. God. People say this, man, God, if you know how to get to that point, they will say it to you. So how can I, what can I buy from you today? Well, I've got this, but this one is a boring one, very slow one, but no risk also. Yeah, show me that one. Okay, show you. Okay. But you do the yes. You know what? That's manipulation. And nobody wants to be controlled. So I'm going to leave you with this. Nobody wants to be controlled. Nobody. Always give your prospect the out, the option to out. You have the complete freedom to not take the deal. Complete freedom. I'm not saying this is just your words. You say or don't say, it doesn't matter. It's your mindset that you are open for them walking away, and that you too can walk away. No hard feelings. This freedom is necessary, because if someone feels that this freedom is taken away, they will not buy. They will buy now, but not from you now. They'll buy from someone else who's much more open, easier to work with. Got a problem, I can talk to her. This is what's going to happen. Okay, what'd you guys get out of tonight? What'd you get out of tonight?
Asking the biggest problem by giving them the multiple choice question.
Okay, that's a good one. It makes things fast. And when you're efficient, fast is efficient, okay? Provided you do it clear, okay? Clear and fast is efficient. When you're efficient, guess what? They assume that you're the expert. It's a great assumption. Hey, please be the expert, okay? Don't just not know and then let them assume. No, be the expert, and then they assume it. Why? Because of the way you handle it. They assume that you're the expert. This is fantastic. So they assume you're the expert. You don't have to qualify yourself. Don't have to, show your benefits and all your achievements. Yeah, assume competency. And then when you get better, you can also assume the close as well. Okay, what else? What else? Thank you. What else did you get out of it? What did you guys get out of this?
Don't sell, close it.
Yeah, think close. I wonder where you can learn something like that.
Don't talk too much.
Don't talk too much.
Don't talk too much. Yeah.
Good point.
That's me. Look at the time.
You are all time 30 minutes.
Oh, are you in the timer? My apologies. Yeah.
I give you permission. No problem.
Must be my sales technique is good. Okay. All right. Turn to your friend and tell your friend the one thing that you got out of tonight. Okay. Tell your friend one thing you got out of tonight.
Okay.